Okay, so this mower video that I recently posted got a lot more attention than I expected, and a lot of you were asking for more detail on how I built this, what's involved, parts lists, things like that. I will post a list of the parts I used, but as you'll see in a second, this is not a one-size-fits-all project unless you are pretty handy. So the basis of this mower robot, well, RC mower basically, is a electric wheelchair that I found on Facebook Marketplace. This runs on a 24-volt lead acid system. These are not the original tires. I took the drive motor hubs out, and there was a set at Harbor Freight that fit this perfectly that were pneumatic instead of hard rubber. I run this at a very low pressure, like 5 psi, for more grip. You can see I left the original frame for this wheelchair and its tiny shocks, if you can even call them that. They do help a little bit with suspension, and it was already put together. It was convenient. I don't have a welder right now, so this worked out for me. To extend the frame, my particular wheelchair was able to split in half this way, and I simply put a piece of unistrut from this side to this side, this piece of angle iron down here, and you can see it clears the mower deck nicely. Some people were asking about why I didn't leave the bag on it, things like that. I think you can see why, but I don't use the chutes. This is a mulching mower. This is a Honda, by the way, if you couldn't tell, and it has a dual blade system. I like the mulching effect. It works well on my lawn. I prefer all the stuff going down because there are a lot of rocks back here. For power, I have everything in this toolbox. So you have your emergency stop here. This side is still just a accessory spot. And then for controls, this is the part most people have been asking about. So inside the toolbox, there is this Cytron DD20A, which is the motor controller. That's taking in the battery voltage, distributing it to the motors. That is spoken to through an Arduino Nano. This is a USB-C version. And you could write the code yourself. You could use ChatGPT. I'll let you decide. I'm sure there's projects like this on GitHub that would be, applicable for a rover or something. Now that system needs to be on 5 volts. Obviously, like I said, this was a 24-volt wheelchair. So I'm using this device here, super inexpensive. It's just a DC to DC converter that cuts down to 12 volts. It's important you get the right kind. This one here, I'll put in my parts list. There are some that have the same voltage specs, but they cannot handle the amount of current. To receive the control signal, I fly RC planes, and I have a whole pile of these old Spectrum DSMX 2.4 gigahertz receivers. You could also use a modern ELRS one if you have that, if you fly drones. I have those too. I didn't want to use them for this project. And that connects to the Arduino. The Arduino connects to the Cytron, and that goes to the motors. And of course, the e-stop switch is wired directly to the battery, so it cuts everything off if you hit it. On top here, you can't really see it from here, maybe from the back, yeah. I did just cut a hole in this compartment of the toolbox. There is a 24-volt PC fan. That's just keeping the motor controller cool. I thought that with this thing only being 20 amp speed controller per side, it wouldn't have enough headroom. It's actually never gotten hot on me or anything like that. For batteries, these are just some deep cycle lead acid batteries, similar to what you use for power wheels. These are 12 amp hours each, wired for 24 volts. They were like $49 on Amazon. Nothing special. I use the connectors I had lying around, and I also have my charger hidden in here. Now, as you can see, using a toolbox was advantageous because the runtime with those small batteries is not great. It's 40 minutes max, because this was designed for much larger packs. But there's room for more. I could also hide more under here. And then to extend the frame lengthwise, it's just angle iron. It's all bolted together. There's no welds on this version. There's a piece of unistrut here that I had lying around. You can see there's old paint on it and everything. Unistrut here. And then the original front end of the wheelchair frame is attached, and you'll notice these wheels here. So these are the height adjusters. I 3D printed these, and they just capture a half-inch bolt. There's a half-inch nut that attaches to this carriage bolt that goes through the deck, and it's just drilled right through. Now, you could do a more slick system where you bolt it onto the actual height adjusters and use the actual clicks. Some people have done that. I didn't. There are a couple reasons why, and one of them was the placement. It made it awkward, and this thing also is not in its final iteration. So my long-term goal with this is actually to build up this deck here and use it as a lawn cart as well as a lawnmower, because you can unscrew these and drop the mower deck straight to the ground. And yet, yeah, there's that mulch versus bag selector on this Honda mower. I just left it there. So, like I said, this was a $20 wheelchair I found on Marketplace. The mower was free when I moved in. My neighbor gave it to me. You can find them pretty cheap on Marketplace as well. I scavenged a lot of the unistrut. It's not that expensive to buy it. You could use angle iron. I did buy this angle iron. That's why I was laughing when people were saying this was a $3,000 unit. It's not. I built this thing to be used right away. No frills. There's nothing fancy or pretentious about it. It does squeak a lot, and actually that's not the wheels, it's the bolts. I'm going to put some rubber dampeners on the heads on the underside. That should help with it. By popular request, I did convert this to FPV. This is just an old all-in-one camera. No OSD, nothing like that. It's an analog. For those who know FPV, it's pretty obvious. I don't really enjoy this in FPV. I actually like it line of sight better. Maybe I'd change my mind if I put one of my digital systems on there, but that's an expensive object to put on this mower, and they heat up really bad. Whereas this thing, I can just leave it here in the open air and it's fine. For control, again, drone pilots and RC plane guys recognize the Radio Master Pocket. This is a very inexpensive ELRS radio. And to connect to a 2.4 gigahertz, well, they're all 2.4, but to a DSMX 2.4 radio with a Spectrum, I have this multi-protocol module on the back. But you could just use ELRS and skip that. And really, that's about it. I'm using these Eachine EV800D goggles. I also have DJI and all of that stuff as well, but I prefer these analog goggles for projects like this, because I'm going to be outside in the yard, and you know, there's a lot of terrain in my yard that makes it hard to do FPV. It's why I like to babysit it. And contrary to what a lot of commenters were saying, I actually enjoy mowing my lawn, even with a push mower. I just like RC vehicles more, and it wasn't a laziness thing. I just did this for fun, and the self-propulsion on this mower was also kind of going out, which made it frustrating because I do have some hills. And the price was right on the wheelchair, and it was already largely dismantled. The seat was off of it. It was just a frame. I think the person I bought it from was using it to drive Halloween props around. And then I guess I should mention all these prints. These are PLA with a carbon fiber shards in them. You could just use PETG or something. This is PETG up here, and that's just a duct for the fan. I have exhaust for the fans cut in the back here. I probably won't use this FPV very much. Maybe I'll switch to digital and I'll like it better. I certainly do on my drones and planes. And then long term, I'll probably try to get the rear end of the chassis more narrow so that the mower deck can get closer to the fence line. Although I use a weed trimmer already, so having, you know, this tire width outside the deck plus maybe 1.5 inches doesn't really bother me. It's also a nice safety margin because this is like a nice bumper. This thing has a lot of torque, and if you hit like a parked car with it or a fence, I mean, you could do some damage. So I'm pretty careful with it. And then for safety, obviously there's the e-stop I mentioned, but I also have the arm switch, just like you would have on a drone or certain planes. And then for the engine, this is kind of thrown together, and I will improve it. I deleted the flywheel brake, and the kill switch that's on the other end of this is just connected to a throttle, and it's on, and now it's off. It's pretty rough. I wasn't sure if this whole project was going to work when I did this, so I just had to find a setup where I could get rid of the dead man lever. This works. It's just ugly. I will eventually put in a proper kill switch. I may even route it through the e-stop since it's a two-part switch. That would mean that the engine could be shut off at the same time as the whole unit, which is obviously a lot safer. As far as, you know, making a kit or something, I'd be happy to help people with recommendations on how to build their own. If I was ever going to make like a kit or something, I would have to develop like a welded frame that was more compatible with more mowers. You could, if you're handy, look at what I've done and extrapolate what you need to do from it and make your own or make it better. Again, mine's going to become like a lawn cart and lawnmower, because when it's past the mowing season, I'm going to unbolt these. There will be a plastic or wooden deck up here, and I'll be able to throw bags of gravel or concrete or pavers on there. So yeah, that's kind of an update on the mower and how it works. It's a lot simpler than people realize, as long as you are experienced with RC vehicles, maybe robotics, and pretty handy. And if you can weld, you can make a much nicer one.